K&A Custom Crafts on Facebook.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. I am Ace, and tonight you're watching another episode of the Coast to Coast Red Tape Files. And of course, tonight my co-host is none other than Mess Around Dave. How are you doing tonight, my man?
I'm great. I just finished scarfing down a double quarter pounder from McDonald's, so I'm ready to do this.
All right, so tonight is actually a very interesting case, to say the least. This takes place over in, actually, I believe it was the UK, if I remember right.
Yeah.
So Mess Around, if you want to, well, you can go ahead and introduce the name of the individual that we will be talking about tonight.
Was it
Amos Glover.
Yeah.
Yep. Amos Glover. So let's take it back first and foremost. This individual was born August 21st of 1989. Now, the reason why it's so relevant to when this individual was born was because this individual actually disappeared 5 months after being born. Just 5 months. Now, people might ask and say, how did this individual disappear after 5 months? And Mess Around, I know we kind of talked about this a little bit. I'm very perplexed on why this kid's father left him in the back of his car to run in a grocery store.
Right. So he left his kid in the car to run a couple errands to go get some cash from this place and then go pick up dinner or something. And it's all in about a span of 20 minutes. He comes back to his truck, which he had apparently locked before he left the kid in there. And he comes back and this kid's gone.
I know, and the thing is, it makes no sense to me. Like and the reason I'm saying why it makes no sense is because, let me ask you this: if you have a 5-month-old child, are you going to leave him in the car while you run inside to do errands?
I don't even leave my kids in the car right now, and they're 11 and 15.
Exactly, and that's why I'm saying I'm not really sure why this happened. What is the reasoning behind it? That's actually something that I've never been able to figure it out. Now, have they really had a whole lot of clues? Not really. So that's why this has kind of been a very interesting case, because if you think about it now to date, he's been missing for 32 years and 23 days. That's a heck of a long time to be missing. And the enhancement videos that they have, or the enhancement photos, that would be hard for them to look at now to be like, this is how that individual would look like now, because when the individual disappeared, he was 5 months old.
Right. You still a whole lot to go off of. So.
Mm-hmm. So let's start with, the little bit of a police investigation, kind of what they've done. So when you look at the police investigation, they had over 2,000 people that were interviewed by parents.
That's a lot of people.
2,000 people.
That's a lot of people. And I guess from reading up on it about like the investigation, it turned into like a racial thing. They didn't look into it much because it was a little black baby instead of a blonde hair, blue eyes, white kid, white baby. And there's a lot of that going on, racial stuff back then.
Yeah, that's kind of what I heard. But to me, I'm even very, very confused exactly why it went down like that, because this did not happen in the United States. This happened.
Yeah, it was in the United Kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah, it happened in the United Kingdom. So I'm wondering exactly, why people are thinking it was a racial thing. Maybe it's because, like you said, maybe because they did not look into it as well as they could have, which, I can say they potentially could have. But the most confusing part to me is that over 2,000 people interviewed, and you basically come away with nothing.
Right? I mean, even if you're that many people, you got to at least come up with something, you think.
But how in the world, though, can you find 2,000 people to interview when it's just somebody in the back of their parents' car, the door's locked, and the person disappears? Amos and just vanishes, basically without a trace.
Well, at the time, I guess the mother and father were separated. Mm-hmm. So the mom has always thought that the father had something to do with the baby's disappearance.
Well, could he be wrong?
Who knows? Maybe he did. Maybe you never know. People are twisted.
Yeah, so we can look at a few more of the facts here, because number one, they had 0 solid leads. We'll start with that one. The 0 solid leads whatsoever. The controversy. So, the strange, and he had been on an at-risk register.
Yeah.
So when you think about it, just so people knows basically what at risk is just imagine somebody going to prison, and they put you in a certain cell because you're at risk for you're at risk flight risk. And so when you're at risk, this is kind of like what it is in this situation here. The guy was at risk. And so Jason has a comment. It says, most people, can you look you in the eye and lie to your face and not even flinch?
That's true.
I completely agree with you there. But the thing that we're trying to say is, as many people as they interviewed, and they're saying that they have no solid leads. Here's the thing, though. If you interview 2,000 people, you have to have some kind of solid lead. Some kind of lead. Because there's no way you can sit there and tell me that there was 2,000 people around that little area when all this went down. Right? Unless. Go ahead.
I was just trying to read up some more about this case, and I guess apparently that, like, earlier in the day, the baby was actually due to be returned to his mother earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess the dad had called and was like, "Hey, I'm running the lake. Can I keep him longer?" And mom said, "Yeah, go for it."
Yeah, so maybe a red flag, just like you said. But why would nobody? So I understand that both parents were kind of interviewed, and even Jason Barber saying mafia involved? Question mark. Why? Like, I would want to know why the mafia would be involved. We know that the mafia get involved in all kinds of interesting stuff, but a disappearance of a 5-month-old child? That's really not. That's kind of where I'm at. So Nate is saying, I don't think they want to release the details out to the public yet. It's been since 1989.
Right. They even went as far as to travel to the dad's native country, Ghana, but they found no trace of the boy there either.
No, but let me ask you this. So, I know that we've talked about how the mom is saying that the father was involved or some way. But do you think that the father would have up and just made his son disappear without seeing him again? Like, because, and the only reason I'm saying that is because if he wanted to keep the son for himself, that he would set it up to where he could see his son, make sure that he got to see his son. Now, could it be one of those cases to where, we can sit here and say maybe at 32 years old, the boy discovers at 5 months old he was taken away, and like the father changed his name or something.
Very well could have. Maybe he passed him along to a friend. Was like, hey, I'm going to be going away to prison, or something's going on. I want to keep him away from the mom. Watch out for me. Watch out for him for me. I'll come see him when I can. You never know. Stranger things have happened. Weirder things have happened.
No, I get that. Now, don't forget though that they are actually going to reopen. They actually reopened the case, and they've done this in Scotland. They've done it, Ireland. They've gone to all these places because something tells me that something in their mind is telling them that the father knows something, because if they're looking at all these places that this kid's father has been to, you're telling me that they don't have the slightest hint that the father was involved.
He's got to be involved somehow, I think. I mean, it's just too fishy for me. Like, you leave money in the car, the car's locked, and somehow the kid still disappears and nobody knows anything.
Mm-hmm. So Jason Barber saying, so this kid could be alive and be 3 years old. Wouldn't that be a trip? Yeah, he could be. He could be alive and be 33. That's why we said, when you truly think about it, this kid could be at the point here to where his name was completely changed and you don't know it.
We've seen these kind of cases happen before where they turn up years later, so it's possible.
Yeah, so if you think about it, so you can put the scene together, right? So think about this. His father's parked at the grocery store. The father leaves his car locked. Says he leaves it locked. The thing is, nobody knows for sure. But let's say, for instance, that he actually left it locked. What's a theory? What's a way that somebody could get inside his car if his car was locked?
That's what I was wondering. Like, he says he'd leave it locked, but there was they didn't say a window was broke or anything. They didn't say, how the person got in if it was locked.
But it's called a spare key, bro. Like, what if his dad set it up to give whoever was supposed to kidnap his son a spare key to get inside the car to take his son? That could obviously be another theory that could be thrown out there. And
I can see that.
And even Jason saying, what if the mom had the kid taken to keep him away from the dad? Well, the thing is I guess it could be a possibility, but where I'm confused about all that is the mom seemed to be really cool in the situation when she told the dad, hey, it was cool if you hold on to him longer. That's what kind of makes me think maybe the mom didn't have so much to do with it as the father would have.
I'm with you on that, because she's still come out to this day, still looking for her kids, still trying to find them. And she was helpful with the investigation. She, like you said, even told the father, yeah, go ahead and keep him for an extra half hour, whatever it may be, until you get here.
Mm-hmm. So Suzanne's on here. She's saying, hello, boys. Hello. Hope you're having a good night tonight. Now, let's not forget, though, now that on all these trails that they followed, it did come to two gentlemen in Guam, or Gohinan men, as they say it, that they actually got DNA tests from these men, because it kind of, like I said, it kind of matched the little bit of the description when the kid kind of disappeared at 5 months old. They tried to piece this together at that age of, I think when this happened, the guy was like 31 at the time. And I'm like, you know how difficult that would be to try and piece it together from 5 months to 31 years old? That would be extremely difficult to actually put together. But they did it, and then they came up with, and they're like, oh, let's give these two guys a DNA test. They did, and it came back with nothing. It was absolutely nothing. It wasn't a match. So that one led nowhere. And so it's going to be interesting to see, even though this case is still currently open, how long are they going to leave it open for?
Who knows? At some point it's going to go cold, and they're going to have to close it because they don't have much information going back then. I mean, unless they've gotten some new information since then, it's really hard to go off anything. I mean, their leads that they've looked have gone nowhere. They haven't gotten anything since then, so it's hard to say how long they can keep it open and active.
All right. So as we're going on, we'll just talk about the two main people in this case. So, because we've talked a little bit about the father and, and he could have potentially given somebody a spare key to get in the car. We even have the potential suspect of his mother, which could be there. But here could be another theory that has been placed together technically on the father's side. And this is simply trying to piece everything together, because as he's making errands, this is what other people were saying, though. As he went to these other places, he never left the child in the car. The only time he left the child in the car was at that supermarket after he called his wife and said, I want to keep him longer. And she said, okay, I'm cool with that. You can keep him longer. That was the first time that he had locked his child in the car. So maybe he didn't lock the door, and he said he did.
That's what I was just reading. It says here, it's he doesn't remember if he locked it or not before leaving.
Yeah, exactly. So if you look at the statement, though, the first statement he said, the first statement he gave, he said, I locked it when I went in the supermarket.
Right.
The second statement, he was like, well, I don't remember if I locked it. So that's kind of a red flag right there, because the story kind of changed. So he's not 100% sure on that. So, and as you look at the facts, like I said, number one, leaving your 5-month-old in the car is obviously a big no-no to do in the first place. Whether you leave the car locked or unlocked, it doesn't matter. So to me, my theory would be, besides giving somebody a spare key, he went in the car, or not in the car, sorry. He went in the supermarket. He left the car unlocked because he knew somebody was going to come up and take that child. He had it planned for somebody to come up and take the kid. So he left the car unlocked for somebody to do that. That would be my theory on it.
It could be. I mean, maybe like your brother was saying, it's a mafia thing. Could be. Could be a number of anything.
But I can't figure this out. Okay, I don't want to rule out the mafia, but I'm saying, how? Like, I want to know. Explain to me what makes you think that this would be a mafia thing, because in nowhere in this case whatsoever, any of these notes doesn't mention anything about the mafia.
I don't know. I'm just saying it could be anything. I mean, they don't even know. Like we said, they interviewed over 2,000 people and came away with nothing.
No, I get it. I get it. And like I said, I don't want to say you're wrong. I don't want to say that Jason's wrong about the mafia or the disappearance because of the mother or whatever, or even the father. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying, though, is if somebody is going to say mafia involvement, there would have to be a reason for the mafia to want to do this.
That's true.
And when you look at this, this evidence and everything, there was nothing out there that said that this kid's father had, nothing to do with any of the mafia, no mafia ties. And the interesting thing is, he didn't even have any mafia or any ties to any type of gangs or anything.
Right. I don't know, but I'm with you. I think the dad knows. The dad knows what happened to that baby. The dad knows if the baby's alive or where it's buried or where, the dad knows something.
I would say right now that I feel like this person is still alive. This Amos person's still alive. They go by a different name. Don't know exactly what name they go by, but it's there because the mother's still looking. So now we kind of covered the facts of the father. Now you look at the mother side. The mother wasn't there. We knew that the father and mother were split up. The mother wasn't here at the time. The father called the mother and said, can I keep him longer? She says yes. So this is the reason why I would say to me that I don't feel like the mother was involved. A lot of these notes are going towards the father. The problem is we have nothing right now on the mother other than that she gave the father permission to keep him longer. That's the only thing. That's the only thing we have on the mother. Well, and besides the fact that she's coming out saying that she still has a feeling that he's alive and she wants closure. That's it. Now, where in this does it say that the father's still out there looking?
It doesn't. It doesn't. Exactly. There's nothing saying that the father's still looking.
Exactly. It says nothing about that the father is still out there looking in any way.
It doesn't even say if he's alive or anything. It doesn't say nothing about the father after the fact that everything went down.
So, when all these facts come together, my personal opinion on this case is that, number one, is it going to ever be solved? I don't think so. I personally don't think it'll ever be solved. They don't have enough to go on. They're not getting any clues no matter who they talk to. They've already searched all over the world where this father's been. The mother's out there looking. The father's not. So if anything comes to it, I would personally say it's just focus on the father at this point. That's it.
Right.
Just focus on the father. But you still, like you said, we don't know if the father's alive. He could be, and he may not be. But so I'm going to turn this one over to you now. I gave my theory on what I believed happened, and that's my two theories of, giving somebody a spare key to get in the car, take them, whatever. What is your theory? Do you put the father at fault? Do you put the mother at fault? Or maybe it's neither of them and somebody actually stole the child from the car, which, even if that happened, it's still partially to blame on the father because he left the kid in the car.
My question is, back in this day and age, I'm not sure if they had like security cameras and footage out there, because it says they were in a busy area in the part of the place where they lived or whatever. And there's got to be security cameras around there if they had them at that point. And if there were they looked at? Did people, did they use them? So, and I was just kind of curious about that, because there's nothing in there saying that they looked at footage or.
That is an interesting point that I didn't think of until you just mentioned it, because you're right. They say nothing about security cameras anywhere. Absolutely nothing about it. So to me, I'm curious about that now too. Was there security footage? You got to think back in 1989 though. Would there have been security footage? I'm not so sure. I think that's
what I was wondering too, if they even had. I was just looking up on the web, just seeing when they were invented or whatever. Yeah, it says they've been around since 1949. So
okay, so if they. So there you go. If they were at a busy supermarket like they were supposed to be with a ton of people around, there's got to be security footage somewhere.
And that's what my question is. Why it doesn't state anywhere in the facts that we looked at that there was security footage that was looked at or reviewed or nothing. So I'm surprised that they didn't go back and look at any of that.
Maybe there was none. Even though it's a busy place, maybe there just was no footage that they could go and look at.
Could be true. But my theory is the kids, the dad knows where the kid is, whether it's the kid's alive or dead, or, deceased. The dad knows everything. And, I don't think it was just some random thing that happened. I think the dad set it up with somebody because he knew he wasn't getting. I don't know. It all just doesn't really make sense to me because at the same time, the mom has agreed to give him visitation rights. Like the mom was even like, "Yeah, go ahead and keep him for longer." So I don't know. This whole thing is just weird.
It is. This is one of the more ones that I've been stumped on that we've actually talked about. This is one that's very, very stumping. I don't think that we'll be able to figure it. And I'm sorry if stumping is not a word, but yeah, I'm very, very stumped on this one. But anyway,
well, it's like I said, it's not like the mom was keeping the baby from him, so there'd be no reason for the dad to try and hide the baby from the mom.
Exactly, but when facts and figures point towards the father,
they do.
Facts and figures point towards the father. So to me, that's what I'm going with. I'm sticking with the father. But there's really nothing else to go off now. So I do want to throw a shout out really quick before we go ahead and wrap up this show that I do appreciate the fan that came forward that sent us the case that they want us to go over. And absolutely, we will cover that. We will get that on our docket. We will cover that for you. We will make sure that it is on there. So if anybody else has any other cases that they would like us to talk about on the show, go ahead, send us the information over. We will put it on our schedule. We will talk about it. And even if you would like, you can come on and talk about it with us if you would like, if they're a relative, friend, whatever, or if you have some facts and information that you would like to share, feel free to. I do hope that everybody enjoyed the show tonight. We will have another show for you next week. Hopefully, the one we have next week will have more facts for you. But this one, it just kept going around and around and around and around. There just wasn't much. So we could only give you what we could with the facts, and then we could only talk about what we believed happened. So mess around, Dave. I'll turn this back over to you.
Yeah, thanks everybody tuning in and commented. Like I said, any case you want us to look up, shoot a message to myself or Ace, or even throw it to our Coast to Coast Network page there, and we will dig up the information. Like I said, you can come on and join us. Really appreciate you guys. And Crispy for behind the scenes stuff, thank you for that as well.
Absolutely. And anytime we're talking about any of these cases on here, if you know anything, please step forward, because this show is about trying to get closure to families and individuals that have people missing. So please, if you know something, step forward. We don't expect you to probably know much about this one, but if you do, step forward. And or even if you were one of the people interviewed in this, ask to come on the show. We would love to interview you. Just interview you. I would love that. All right. So with that, I do want to thank everybody for watching. We'll definitely be back next week again. We hope that you're enjoying our show. We try and come up with the best content that we possibly can. This is only our maybe our third or fourth week of
I think it's our third actual case. Last week was just why we do this type of thing.
Yep. So our third actual case. It's going to get better as we go along. So don't forget that tonight you can also watch Four Bros on the Coast to Coast Entertainment Network. Tomorrow you can watch On Deck, and then Tuesday Night Mania. Let's not forget about that. It's going to be a great night for you. And then Wednesday, of course, you have a whole lineup of shows. So with that, I hope everybody has a fantastic night, and we will see you next week for another episode of the Coast to Coast Red Tape Files. You have a great night, and have a good night.